Welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to bring you my next guest because what she's going to tell you about is truly revolutionary. It's groundbreaking. I mean, you hear these terms, you think, really? Really? Because Amy Gaston
Hi.
is here as Vice President of Strategic Growth at OhmBody. And this is with Spark Biomedical out of Dallas. I mean, and I, in researching, some of the things that we had had a chance to visit
Yeah.
about prior to this happening, it is just fascinating what's been invented to really help, particularly women
Yes.
who
Yeah.
have a bad problem once a month.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and let's just call it menstruation. It's
Yeah, right.
it's just something that for millennia women have buried, right? It's like the curse of Eve and what we go through, and you know, and for generations and cultures across the world where menstruation is sort of this taboo thing we don't talk about,
Hmm.
right? We don't tell our husbands what kind of tampons we wear. We try not to talk about when we do that.
You
We
don't see many men at HEB buying them for their
No, every once in
wives.
a while you get a real
Sometimes you,
special one. Mine
sometimes
is
you
one of
see it, but
those. Yes, mine is one of those, and I'm very grateful. I no longer use tampons and use a menstrual disc instead. But he knows that, and he's very comfortable. I think
this
he's
is
just
part of
a.
life,
It is. It's a rarity, but unless you grew up in a home where those conversations were really open, a lot of a woman's and a young girl's menstrual journey is she starts to bleed. Her mom says, "Well, welcome to womanhood. Here's the way I manage it. Here's the way you should manage it." And then the conversation sort of just stops
That's
there.
exactly how it was with me.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah,
like, okay, once a month it's the monster, or it's my visitor, or
yeah,
it's my
yeah.
red friend. There's all kinds of things that it's been called, but at the end of the day, it's a naturally occurring thing that as women are necessary in order to be healthy and fertile, and if you choose fertility, and really just overall health. There's more and more research being done that your period and the way that it shows up in your menstruation is really another vital sign to the overall health of a woman, right? So about your bone density, about how you're going to experience perimenopause and then eventually menopause, and how your body recovers, how it sleeps, right? So really menstruation in that process has some significant biomarkers around the health of a woman, and we're just now scratching the surface around that.
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
why is this taking so long? What was it we came up with?
I think at the end of the day, for millennia, men have driven research and innovation
Yeah, yeah.
around health. And I don't think that that's necessarily malicious. I think it's just people solve problems that matter to them.
Right.
And menstruation is something uniquely female, right? No
Sure.
man menstruates.
No.
And I have a real fun saying that says that if men menstruated, and I won't use the more vulgar tone of that, but if men menstruated, we probably already have a cure. Or we'd have multiple drug options, multiple non-drug options, as opposed to now with heavy menstrual bleeding. And honestly, and and most people don't know this, but 1 in 3 women suffer from heavy menstrual bleeding.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a particular syndrome that some people
Yeah. So
have.
yeah, it can be clinically diagnosed for sure, but if you're bleeding over 80 milliliters per cycle, so that's roughly around just over a quarter of a cup of blood. If you're bleeding more than that, if you're losing that more than that much blood per cycle, not per day, per cycle,
Yeah, per day, you're
not per day,
that
per
would be
cycle,
really
the
bad. Yeah.
entirety of your cycle, you're a heavy menstrual bleeder,
Hmm.
right? So there's some underlying causes to that. It can be endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids. There's a plethora of things that can cause that, or you can just be a heavy menstrual bleeder. And so the numbers currently are 1 in 3 women in America are heavy menstrual bleeding.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's a higher rate than diabetes or asthma, specifically to
Okay.
women. But we feel that number, and a lot of people feel that number is likely underrepresented because women don't even know that they should be categorizing themselves as heavy menstrual bleeders.
That's
They
just
don't.
how it's always been.
That's right. My aunt, my mom, my grandma, my sister, we all bleed the same amount. So this must be normal. And so, because most of the time when you go to your OB-GYNs, it's a 5 to 10 minute time. They're taking a pap smear in your annual, and that's the end of it. And there's very rarely additional causes unless you're suffering so greatly that life has to stop, right?
And
So,
for some women, that's the case.
absolutely, millions of women around the world are are
It's
heavy
like
menstrual
they're,
bleeders.
they go to bed with a hot water bottle.
That's right.
And
That's right.
yeah, and
Ibuprofen,
then,
in some cases, birth control, so hormonal birth control, whether it's IUD or a pill. And in some cases that are more extreme, surgery, so ablations or hysterectomies. An ablation, if you're not
wow,
familiar, is a cauterization of your uterus. They go in and they burn the lining of your uterus to keep you from bleeding. That only lasts every 2 to 3 years. It's extremely painful, it's expensive, and it's
gosh.
ineffective, right?
Yeah.
It's not long lasting. Or in severe cases, which we all know women, and my college best friend was this my college roommate, a hysterectomy. Her menstruation was so terrible.
Oh my goodness.
She would vomit. She would have severe headaches. Now, post a hysterectomy and in menopause, she's realizing with her doctor that she has PCOS, and like
And what is that?
polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Hmm.
And so it's a condition that has likely been around for years, but is sort of just now sort of having this kind of surgence of understanding and really not even understanding it, but one of the symptoms is heavy menstrual bleeding in that space. And so and it can we could do a whole other podcast on PCOS. I would recommend SheMD. It's a podcast with a Dr. A and a friend of hers, and they very much specifically look at PCOS. So if anyone is curious about that, SheMD, incredible podcast. But anyway, all that to say, she had a hysterectomy and she had two beautiful boys, but was ready for a third and wanted a little baby girl,
Sure.
and had to choose a hysterectomy for her health and for her safety, and wasn't done having a family. And so her story can be replicated in this world, right? Who have to make a decision about their family decisions, about their lifestyle choices. Hysterectomies will send you into early menopause, which has
Oh
its
yeah, and you
own
have to go through the whole
the whole
hormone
thing, hormone
thing, and
replacement
right.
therapy, and there's a lot of misunderstandings around hormone replacement therapy. Again, another podcast that we
Yeah,
could
there are
do.
so many other things
so
we could talk
many
about.
tangents in it. But from a heavy menstrual bleeding standpoint, it's a issue. It's a quiet problem that women have been dealing with for quite literally millennia. And their doctors, while well-meaning, weren't trained to be looking for that. That's not something an OB-GYN is out there looking at, because menstruation is so still very misunderstood. And they spend this much time, in med school learning about a woman's body. Even, Anna, we talked about, the birth control that I was on, that a lot of people still on, and that were on for my entire generation. That birth control was developed and tested on white middle-aged men. Because
Really?
until 1994, the FDA didn't allow testing on women and children. And so the pills that they're giving 15-year-old girls who come in with heavy bleeding, with cramping, with acne, with fill in the blank of whatever that is, suddenly we're giving them a pack of these pills like candy that have never been tested on women. And we talked about this as well. We're having this awakening of like, oh, women are not small men, right? Like
Their bodies are different.
Their bodies fundamentally, if my body can produce life, sustain life, both inside and out, right, then I produce milk, and a man cannot. That at the core makes us different. I mean, it's just, there's no questions about that.
Right.
There's
Kind of basic stuff.
stuff. And so as we look at what that looks like, and the solutions, we're really excited to be bringing to market, and have brought to market, because we're live, have brought to market an option for women that's non-hormonal, non-invasive, zero systemic side effects, and in our clinical research has been showing some really, really incredible results.
Well, it is, and this is OhmBody,
OhmBody,
AOHM body.
Yep.
It's a wearable device.
Yeah.
It's non-medicine. It's
Yep.
So
Non-invasive.
tell how this it kind of
It sits over your ear. Yeah,
fits
so
over your ear.
Yeah, I should have brought one. Gosh, I always forget that you're.
Well, there's some pictures. You have a great website that shows all kinds of pictures, so we can link that.
Okay,
for
good.
Sure.
Yeah, so you'll see on there. It's a wearable device that uses neurostimulation. So it's a really low electric current, really no pain, no harm caused. But we use two electrodes, so two pieces on an earpiece that stick to you with medical grade adhesive, and a hydrocolloid that helps to conduct those electrical currents. And what we do with through a little going to be able to turn it on, and we're going to send low pulse signals, electrical signals, through your trigeminal and your vagus nerves. So what are those? Your trigeminal nerve, both of those nerves come out of your head, and they have branches of those nerves around your ear. So we call them auricular branches. Auricular is just a fancy word for around the ear. And so through the stimulation, we trigger your trigeminal and your vagus nerve. Your trigeminal nerve is associated with pain and how your body manages pain. So very important when we talk about cramping, anxiety, stress, all of those things can lead from your period and can be heightened during your period.
Sure.
And then your vagus nerve, it's your only cranial nerve that actually leaves your head. So it goes and it touches every major organ in your body. There's a lot of research right now, a lot of popularity around vagal nerve stimulation and optimizing your vagus nerve and how do you get better rest and better sleep and better recovery. So there's a lot of research in that. For us specifically, the vagus nerve does a couple of things. The first thing that we do through this little stimulation, again, very low grade, doesn't hurt. We just want you to kind of feel it, so it feels like a little tingle. We send signals down to your spleen. So your spleen plays a really important role in your body in that it helps support and helps store your platelets. So platelets are really important. When you cut your finger, Anne, the reason you don't bleed out is because your platelets showed up and they clotted. They kept you from bleeding out. So that's the platelets' job. They show up and clot. So in your body, at any point, you hold about 20 to 30% of your overall body's platelets in your spleen. So what we do is we send a signal down to the spleen, and we will pre-prime the platelets, meaning we're going to change the signaling on those platelets in the spleen so that when the body says, hey, we have an injury, in this case, the shedding of your uterine wall, we don't ever think about it that way, right? That
Right.
It's
It's like if you cut your arm off or whatever.
Cut your arm off.
But it's basically the same kind
thing.
of response.
Same thing happening.
That was revolutionary when you told me that.
Same sort of response happening. But your body needs to stop that bleeding from happening or to slow it down, right? And so there's a healthy amount of blood loss that you have, and then there's a not healthy, which we just talked about. So the platelets show up, and what they do is they clot and to keep you from bleeding out, right? So there's that body regulation. And so what we do is we tell the platelets, hey, when the body calls you there, we're going to pre-prime you in such a way that when you show up, you're going to show up and clot faster, stronger, and hold longer. We're not going to cause a clot. We're not throwing a clot. We're not making you clot. We're not causing a clot by stimulating your spleen. What we're doing is just saying, hey, platelet, we're going to supercharge you so that when the body calls you, you're going to show up and do that really, really well. You're going to do your job really, really well. And so what that's resulted in our clinical phase 1 is an overall 55% reduction in blood loss in women during menstruation.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Especially if you're bleeding a lot.
Bleeding a lot. And in our cohort of, so our participants in this clinical phase 1, were 2 different cohorts. So we had a group of women who have what bleeding disorder called von Willebrand's. And in von Willebrand's disease, it's a very common bleeding disorder. But in women during menstruation, they can lose up to a liter of blood every time they menstruate.
That's dangerous.
Very dangerous. As women, we only have 4 to 4.5 liters of blood in our body, depending your size. If you're bigger, you hold a little more blood. If you're a little smaller, you hold a little less blood. Yeah. So imagine losing a quarter of your blood every time that you menstruate. Every time that you menstruate. The health implications on that alone are significant, right? Right. And so for those women to lose 55% less than they were prior to using our device, that's a life-changing development. The other half of our cohort were what we called idiopathic heavy menstrual bleeders, meaning these women have heavy menstrual bleeding, but no known cause. So they haven't been clinically diagnosed with anything, endometriosis, PCOS, whatever it might be, fibroids. They just know they bleed more than this 80 milliliter threshold. And they suffer from it. So across both of those cohorts, we saw an average of a 55% reduction in blood loss. Some of those women saw up to a 70% reduction because they were really far from the baseline to begin with. And then that translates into a 20% reduction in the number of days they were on their cycle, which is fascinating. Right? So,
because some women just, it's for days and days,
and
not
days
the
and days
typical
and days.
5 days.
No, 10, 15, 20 days.
Wow.
So when we're able to reduce that by 20%, we're quite literally giving them their lives back, which is, for me, I think, mic drop transformational, right? Just like,
no kidding.
Okay, done. So that side of what OhmBody does is really fascinating. And honestly, like, just cool, and we could sit here and talk about it forever. But the other side that OhmBody does is through stimulating both the trigeminal and vagus nerves, we actually help to balance the autonomic nervous system. So what is that? So your autonomic nervous system is how your body responds to stress and how your body responds to both internal, external, all of these things that come at you, right? Whether it's physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress, spiritual stress, whatever that is, right? Anything that's causing a reaction in you is stress. And so your body at balance has two tones. You have your sympathetic tones, which are your fight or flight tones. So that's your body's natural way of protecting itself when it feels stress, right? It goes into this mode of like, okay, how do we stay safe, right? So it's driving your stress mode. Fight or flight. The other side, the opposite side of that coin is your parasympathetic, which is your rest and relax. And that's how your body helps to manage that stress well, right? So the ideal human, healthy human, has a balance of both at any given time, right? And then, fight or flight when's necessary, rest and relax when's necessary, but you want this balance. During your period, and one of the reasons women feel so crummy on their periods is because their autonomic nervous system is out of sync. Their sympathetic tones are through the roof, right? Because your body's experiencing blood loss and trauma. Again, we don't ever talk about it that way because it's so normal and monthly, but your body is bleeding. And I always say this, if you lost as much blood from any part of your body other than your uterus, for some women, as much blood as they lose during menstruation, you'd go to the hospital.
Yes, right.
You would receive medical care and condition.
Stitches or something.
Right. Somebody's going to stop that bleeding, but
Yeah.
we don't do that again because menstruation is so misunderstood, not just by practitioners in some cases, but really by us as women. We don't understand what's normal and not normal in our bodies.
Yeah.
So with that, your body, when it's bleeding at that rate, goes into fight or flight, right? Your survival mode, right? So it's your cramp, that's what anxiety, that's why you don't sleep well, that's why you crave carbs. Your body's craving carbs because it's in overdrive trying to survive the moment, right? You crave sugar. That there's a physiological reason that you, not just because you're on your period, there's a reason that your body craves those things. So what we're able to do is by stimulating those two nerves that we've been talking about, we actually are able to raise the parasympathetic tones, those rest and relax tones, to help your body balance. And so we're not keeping you from menstruating. We're not keeping you from ovulating. We're not keeping you from doing the things your body needs in order to be healthy. We're just saying, hey, body, you don't have to do that in overly stressed out ways.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And so our clinical participants saw a reduction across multiple categories of PMS. So sleeplessness, anxiety, cramps, mood swings, cravings. Yeah. I mean, like across the board. Now, I will say this, some of our participants experienced really great blood reduction losses, right? Because they were really far away from the median, but maybe like nominal or average reductions in cramping. Some women saw a great reduction in cramping, but maybe a nominal blood loss because they weren't so far from what baseline median should have been. But across the board, and what I think is the most fascinating stat, is that across the board, we saw an increase in quality of life scores.
Yeah.
And really at the end of the day, that's really what matters to us as a brand, is that we're giving women the option of their life back. And for some of these women, critical days that they have not been with their families and their jobs. And so our company tagline is because life doesn't stop when you start.
I know. I wanted to get to that.
Love, right?
Because that says it all right there. And at least now that with the OhmBody device, that these issues are being addressed finally. Want to come back from the break and talk to you about how this can affect athletes.
Yeah.
So stay with us. There's more of the Ann Harder Show ahead.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup, it sounds absolutely fantastic, I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
This truly is groundbreaking technology that will help countless women.
Smoke Pub was created by a group of friends who share a passion for great whiskey and cocktails. Frustrated by the lack of easy-to-use cocktail smokers, we set out to design something better. Our goal was simple: make smoking cocktails quick, clean, and fun. After countless experiments, we developed Smoke Pub, the world's first electric cocktail smoker. Join us on this exciting journey and discover the magic of Smoke Pub, where unforgettable cocktails begin.
And I'm back with Amy Gaston, who is the Vice President of Strategic Growth.
Yes, it's a fancy
at
title.
OhmBody. That is a very fancy title. But But we had a chance to meet for coffee,
Yeah.
so you could really explain this to me. I had seen some posting on something from Facebook where you had been at a conference or something about blood disorders in women, and I thought, what is that? I need to call Amy about that.
It's so weird. I get that question a lot. They're like, "What are you doing? And
Yeah,
how
what
is
is
that
this?
happening?" Yeah.
But so tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
what got you to this company?
Yeah, I thank you for asking that. It's an interesting journey. I want to start and say I have zero biomedical background and experience.
You don't sound like
Yeah,
it.
well, I have some great teachers. We have our chief science officer, Dr. Naveed Kadabras, is an actual genius and is so down to earth and so good. And I have what I call science lessons with him, and will randomly be like, okay, I don't understand this, and how do I do this? And he's just incredible. And I'm surrounded every day with people that are a whole lot smarter than I am. Very, very true. But in my role, I oversee sort of this like forward facing. I kind of serve as the face of the brand and sit on podcasts and do stages as you saw, I think maybe on Facebook. And but I also oversee our PR efforts, our influencers, kind of our strategic planning and our brand partnerships. So really for me, I serve in more of this like very public facing marketing side of what we do. But prior to that, I worked at Magnolia. I was the director of experiential marketing there. So that's how we got to Waco.
Oh.
In my previous life before that, I worked in college athletic marketing and have a master's degree from Baylor in sport management and was a high school volleyball coach for a while and a teacher. So I have this very interesting weaving pattern. Prior to my role at OhmBody, I served as the chief of staff at a venture capital firm who is actually one of the lead investors in Series A for Spark Biomedical, our parent company. And so when they decided to launch a women's wellness brand, which is very new and very, very, very new.
Yeah, this is very new.
Very
Just
new.
Couple
yeah.
of months.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking
End of 2024, they decided we're going to launch a women's wellness division. We have 3 incredible male founders who very much felt they shouldn't be standing on stages mansplaining periods to women. While they're brilliant and bright and the reason that we're sitting here, they very much understood like it does not matter how much science we understand. We can never understand the experience that a woman has because we've never had it. And so they, in their wisdom, were like, we need a woman to do that for us. And so the partners over at the VC firm I worked at said, hey, we think we know a girl that might be an interesting fit. And Daniel, our CEO, and I had met previously when I was in that role. And so we met, and I got really passionate really fast about
it's easy to see. This is life-changing.
Life-changing and life-altering.
Yeah.
I always say there's a woman that I'm excited for our community to meet soon, and her story. But she is a woman with von Willebrand disease, and her story and the impact of OhmBody on her life. I say all the time, if she was the only woman on the planet that we helped,
Yeah,
it was worth
it was
creating
worth
the
it.
device. You know, and so to be in this space, obviously I got really, really. It was really easy for me to feel like, yeah, this could matter. And if these results are real and these results are, and they are, and you know, if what you're showing me is right, then I want to be a part of it. So obviously I used the device myself first before I took the job because I thought, let's make sure this works. And so, yeah, I happened to get it the first day of my period. Obviously, and again, I've spoken more on stages publicly about my period and my menstruation than
you ever thought you would.
I would. And so I'm grateful for parents who have always encouraged me to be really bold about the things that I believe. But I tried it the first day, and on my menstruation, I'm perimenopausal. I'm 40, just turned 40 last month. And
things can change with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went from being a girl who I started my period in my late teens. I had maybe 3 to 4 periods a year for the first part of my
and if
early
you're an
20s.
athlete,
I was an athlete.
that can really affect things too.
Absolutely,
so,
which probably wasn't healthy, but no OB-GYN was telling me that wasn't healthy. And so, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
But, and then having relatively mild periods, I got on birth control when I got married, which sort of threw me into a weird thing. And I only spent about 7 years on hormonal birth control because my husband decided, hey, we don't want kids. Let's get a vasectomy. I'm like, great, that makes it so easy for me. And so I was really fortunate to not spend a ton of time on hormonal birth control. And then once I got off, my period sort of became a little more regular, but my bleeding was pretty minimal. But when I hit about 36, 37, suddenly I was like having breakthrough bleeding. I was flooding. Like I've never flooded ever. I've never bled through. And I was suddenly like, I would get up and I would be like, wait, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
And I use a disc to manage my menstruation, and it's always been sufficient and plenty, but suddenly that was not enough. And I was you're supposed to, if you don't know, you use a disc and you empty it every 12 hours. It's supposed to be enough to hold 12 hours worth of blood. But I was having to change to empty every 3 to 4 hours, which is uncommon, right? And it's
Well,
not normal.
that's unusual. That's an
Unusual.
irregular amount.
Irregular amounts.
Yeah.
And then, so as if the bleeding wasn't enough, suddenly my first day of my period, I'm hyper lethargic, and I'm a go-doer.
Yeah, you're pretty type A.
I got a lot of stuff going on. I own a business. I
Yeah.
picked up tennis in my late 30s. I have my husband and I travel a lot. We have 5 nephews and a niece, so we got a lot going on. But I just was like, I'm going to avoid all things on my first day, and I thought, this is terrible.
That's not like you.
Yeah, and then I also suddenly crave chocolate all the time. Like, need it, want it, can't stand not having
Gotta
it.
have
Gotta
it.
have it, can't focus without it. And well, I enjoy sweets. That's just not normally. I'm pretty fit. I try
I
to
was
be
going
really
to say,
good about
you don't
my.
look like
I
you
try
indulge
to,
in a lot of that kind of thing.
I try to be good, mindful about things I put on my body. And so those are the things I was experiencing through perimenopause. And so I got an OhmBody my day 1 of my period. I really was like, all right, let's try it. So I worked 2 hours. So that's our recommendation, is wearing it 2 hours every day that you menstruate. And I put it on, worked for 2 hours, and that afternoon I went and played competitive tennis.
Yeah.
And it was, we're tennis players, you know this, and you know the women I play with, and that's not it.
Yeah.
They kick my butt every day.
I was going to say they're pretty
all the
good
time.
players.
They're
Yeah.
very good
Yeah.
players. And I went and played, and I felt incredible. And I was like, wait,
That's
what
pretty
is
amazing.
happening here? And then I worked for 5. I committed to wearing it for 5 days through my 5 days of bleeding, and I didn't have a single piece of chocolate. Didn't want it. Didn't need it. Didn't crave it. And I was like, wait, what is happening? And while I can't say I bled 55% less, there was a notably less amount of blood in my disc when I went to empty it every day
Okay.
of my period. And so, because I didn't do a baseline, we didn't do all the PBAC scores. But so for me, it was one of these moments that I thought, well, if they can do this for me, and I would not consider myself, at that time, I wouldn't have considered myself a heavy menstrual bleeder. I think now that I know my stats and I know my data, being in this role, I'm like, oh yeah, in perimenopause, I think I'm a heavy menstrual bleeder.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but I didn't have the language or understanding of that. And so for me in that moment, I thought, yeah, I'm sold. Sign me up. How do we do this, and how do we bring this to every woman in every world? And again, because life doesn't stop when you start, this tagline that our incredible marketing team put together, I think it just speaks to what we know as women, right? Is that regardless of the fact that I'm bleeding or not, my life has to keep going.
That's right.
I have to be a mom. I have to be a CEO. I have to be a teacher. I have to be a fill in the blank, whatever that looks like. And we deserve options that don't slow us down. Because while I would love to sit under a cozy blanket with a heating pad and a box of chocolates, I don't have time for that. And most women don't. And we don't have the luxury of self-carrying ourselves to betterment through menstruation, right? Like
Yeah.
we just don't have that. And oftentimes we're surrounded by men or other women who maybe don't have the experience that we have in menstruation, who don't understand. And the conversation around, I'm going to tell my CEO that I can't focus on his P&L today because I'm literally sitting here trying to make sure I don't bleed through my skirt in this boardroom full of men. That's not an option for most women. I have that privilege, and I'm very grateful for that. My CEO usually knows when I'm menstruating because that is the world that I live in. Bless his heart. He's a dad of daughters and has a wife, and now he's surrounded by a company of women that are like, this
guess
experience
what?
of my menstruation. Like he's learning a lot, which is so great. But yeah, I think for us, it was an easy yes to come to this company.
Yeah. Well, and originally the Department of Defense was involved with this because of the impact that something like this could have on soldiers in the battlefield.
Yeah, so we, Spark Biomedical, our parent company, has been really, really fortunate. We have about $22 million in non-dilutive capital from the NIH and DoD. And obviously, we have some other use cases for this technology in spaces around opioid withdrawal dependency, stress management, traumatic blood loss. So you can see how those categories specific to organizations like the DoD would be very, very interested in what that research could look like. And so we're excited about what continues to go in those spaces. But OhmBody is the women's wellness division, and we're really proud of it. And I think what I'm most proud of is, Spark, and I say this a lot, Spark could have very easily said, we're releasing a device into women's wellness, and this is the device, go. and left it at that and been Spark, right, with an OhmBody device. And they didn't do that. And they really, because at the core of this, we want to be about the conversations around destigmatizing menstruation and menstrual health and women's health. There's this movement in women's health right now, which has been really exciting. More money than ever is being invested. Still not enough. I want to put that out there. So if you're an investor somewhere and you want a place to put your money, women's health is the way it should be. But so it's coming, and more research, and as conversations become more normalized, we want to be on the forefront of that. And we want to be a part of locking arms with other innovators and researchers and doctors and investors to say women are half the world's population, and it's high time we act like it. And it's high time we understand that women's health is not limited to reproductive health or sexual health. It's a holistic approach. We experience heart attacks differently. We experience respiratory things differently. We are not small men. And so the way, I want to say that we are not small men. And because of that, you know, there's much work still to be done. And I'm really proud of a company who said, you know what, we're going to create an entire division dedicated to the betterment of women's wellness. And specifically for us currently, and I think there'll be other applications in the future, but specifically right now around menstrual health and care.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned playing tennis, and we both watched Wimbledon, and this is the first year I noticed that, because the rule is you wear solid white. You wear white
with like the little trimming of color.
You might have a little but now the women were allowed to wear colored tennis panties.
That's right, colored shorts.
Yep. And when you think about it, you know, a female athlete, if it happens to be that, you know, Wimbledon is when it is, and if it's during your period, then have the added stress of, okay, I got to play at the top of my game when I maybe don't feel so much at the top of my game. And then on top of that, worry about, you know, being embarrassed.
Bleeding through. It's funny. Yeah, absolutely.
I never thought about it.
Yeah.
You know?
And we don't, right? It's weird because we're women. We know what they're talking about.
Well, so I'm glad they allow them to wear colored panties now.
Yeah. And I heard commentators talking about it, you know, during the broadcast. And, you know, recently there's a European women's soccer league team that did a whole TikTok video around bleeding and this idea that, like, I have grass stains, I have dirt stains, I have blood stains, but maybe I have menstrual stains too. And you know what? That's a natural part of being a woman. Yeah. And why are we shaming women around that? Right. You know, this idea that, like, as female athletes specifically, you know, and you talked about having to perform at the top of your game, to your point, right? It's an added mental stress of, like, if I'm bleeding through, I play with a tennis partner who, you know, is late stage menstruation, and she still floods and bleeds through. And, you know, tennis specifically, you're moving, you're going. I mean, a tampon slips out, then now you're bleeding, and I've got shorts and I've got tights. Like, it's a whole ordeal. So from that standpoint, you know, I think, you know, obviously as a former female athlete, as a former coach, as a former college athletic staff member, you know, athletics is the one job on the planet where you don't get to call in sick.
That's right.
People pay a ticket.
If the team's supposed to play, then you better be out there ready to play.
Absolutely. You pay a ticket, or the spectator pays a ticket, or a college pays your scholarship. Like, you're expected to show up and perform. And at no point are we making exceptions for women because suddenly they're on their period. And so, you know, there's this misconception that, well, if you're an athlete, you don't have a period. That's not necessarily true.
What?
It has, you know, it has a lot to do with your body composition and your fat composition. You know, there are rugby players and soccer players and whose body composition is a little more full. I mean, I played volleyball, and while I didn't menstruate a lot during my collegiate journey, I had teammates who were worthless the week of their period.
Yeah, you told me that they, you know, they just had to go to bed with a heating bottle, and then that's
some
hot water bottle,
ibuprofen and maybe an ice pack, or, you know, something to manage. And so there's just been so very little help for that. And so, you know, we have, obviously for me, because of my heart, I have a real focus on, can OhmBody help female athletes at the highest level of their game, whether they're professional athletes, college athletes, high school athletes, club athletes? Can we help them manage something that they can't avoid, right? I mean, there are ways to keep myself from menstruating, but not healthy ways. And we don't want to keep women from menstruating, right? Because again, it's necessary for us as a vital sign to our health. And so is there a way for OhmBody to step in and be a support system for that? And so we're excited about, there's some things that are coming that we're really, really excited that hopefully in the future we can talk about and be really open about. But I think there's ways. And then, I had someone today tell me, because I have this dream of having an OhmBody in every collegiate, professional, and high school athletic training department across the world. That's my dream. That's my dream. But
if
somebody
they've got a heart defibrillator device,
yeah.
Might as well have one of those.
Why not have an OhmBody? A whole set of them. But I had someone today tell me, Amy, you should really think about health centers at universities, right?
Yeah.
These girls who come in and maybe can't afford the device right off the bat, or whatever it might be, but to have support in spaces where young women are going for help and for understanding about their bodies. And so we're really excited. We're conversations with some really interesting potential partners around young women and adolescent, heavy menstrual bleeding, because it does happen. We have this misconception that young girls don't bleed a lot, and that's just simply not true. I have my college roommate that I was talking about earlier. She started bleeding at 8 on a field trip with a male teacher. She thought she was dying.
Oh, I imagine at
Thought
8
she was
years
dying.
old. Wow.
And subsequently there had heavy periods from then on. And birth control was not an option. She was the daughter of a Mississippi Baptist pastor, and that's fine. But, for their religious reasons, didn't feel like that was an option for them. And so she suffered greatly. I remember being in college and her just vomiting because she was just in so much pain over her period. And so, and she was miserable. And she was a basketball player. Like, she played college basketball. And so I think that we have this misconception, like, oh, an athlete, she's not going to bleed. Oh, an athlete, she's skinny. Oh, an athlete, she's fill in the blank. And just because I'm a competitor doesn't mean my body doesn't operate the same way a woman does, right? We want it to operate the same way a woman does. And so we're excited about the future of that and what can happen. And I think we're just scratching the surface. We've been on the market for 2.5 weeks now.
I was going to say, this is a very new thing.
Very new. It's very new.
Thing, which is exciting. So where can folks get more information? I mentioned your website is awesome. www.ohmbody.com, OhMBody.com. You can get on there. You can see all the stats that I talked about, all the things. We have a really incredible blog that talks you through, like, am I a heavy menstrual bleeder? Yeah,
when should I
saw
know?
that. Yeah.
When should I be talking to my doctor about that? And we would say, if it doesn't feel right to you, you should be talking to your doctor. And I would say, if you have a doctor that is dismissive of that or isn't listening, it's time to find a new doctor.
Then you dismiss that one.
That's right. You dismiss that one. And and we want to be partnership on Monday with a company called Fox Health, Foxx Health, and they're a platform that's being launched for women for this very reason, for a community of women to be able to say, is this normal? What is normal? Not just menstruation, but around, weight gain and breastfeeding and, sexual, health. Like, it's just an open platform for women to go on and find resources. And so we're really excited to partner with them. And we continue to find other women. The more I dig into this, and men too, the more I dig into this, more and more I'm finding there's a movement here. And it's just about having the conversation, being willing to step up and say, like, yeah, I think I'm a heavy menstrual bleeder. I think this is something, And so I think the shock and awe value, I think, around it has at least subsided in some spaces. I think I told you I was in New York about a month ago on stage at Tech Week, and I will say, in fairness to the people in the room, it was a panel on wearables, the future of wearables, wearable technology. But they got to me, and so of course I talk about menstruation because that's what it is. But I would say it's probably 80% men, young tech bros in this room, and I said something about
tech bros,
which I had no problems there. In the room is nodding her head, and every man is like aghast. They just like,
what did she say?
Yeah,
what did
like,
she say?
What's happening? Why are we talking about bleeding?
Why are we talking about this?
But I think it's exciting to think that we're on the forefront of really bringing technology and the utilization of high tech in order to treat women, in order to help women and to provide a therapy for them that's going to help them manage something that for a long time we've just been really dismissed on.
Yeah, well, it is exciting. I mean, I had the opportunity to speak to President of Baylor University.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
President Livingstone, and we were talking about you, and she said, yes, she told me about that. Is life changing. I mean,
Yes.
it's truly. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
groundbreaking stuff. I was
Yeah.
not, overstating
Yeah,
the case. I don't
thank you.
think
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, we're thrilled. I'm a big fan of Linda Livingstone. Shout out to you, President Livingstone. But I truly think that when we have the opportunity to share this, the reaction is pretty positive in it. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know people are going to want to know more, and I
Yes.
appreciate so much
Yeah,
you
reach
sharing
out.
this with me
Of
today.
course.
Yeah. Anything else we can help you with? I know Spark's got a lot of interesting things. There's a sparrow therapy system.
Yes, Sparrow Scent. Yeah, around opioid withdrawal.
Yeah.
To
You
help people
kind of
manage that.
touched
yeah.
on that. I mean, it's neurostimulation, which
Yeah.
just has to do with what the
Yeah.
OhmBody device
Yeah.
does to stimulate without drugs
Yep. Non-invasively.
to help
Yep.
people cope with things.
Yeah,
so it's just
and manage
amazing.
It. Yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I say this all the time. Our research and development team, our clinical team, they're the heart and soul behind the company, and they are the reason we can do the things that we do. And I just have the privilege of just sharing all of their incredible work. Which
Well,
is
you
so
do
fun.
it very well.
Well, that's
And
very sweet.
And I appreciate you so much,
Yeah, of
Amy.
course. Thanks, Anne. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, come back again.
Always.
Amy Gaston, thank you. Stay with us. We've got more of the show ahead. Stay with us. Elizabeth Riley has your Act Locally news. That's coming right up.
Escape into fitness with the Schwinn IC4 bike, providing a premium, heart-pumping indoor cycling experience that combines digital connectivity with superior Schwinn quality. The IC4's smooth, quiet ride features magnetic resistance with 100 micro-adjustable resistance levels. Escape the everyday with the Schwinn IC4 bike, your ticket to a life well lived.
This Saturday, August 16th, is Iguana Day at the Cameron Park Zoo. Stop by and check out our scaly friends while also getting a glimpse of the baby Maasai giraffe that was just born. The Waco Pack is celebrating our favorite kid wizard's birthday with a live performance of the iconic Harry Potter series. Join the Waco Pack tomorrow, August 16th, for a one-of-a-kind improv adventure filled with spells, surprises, and spontaneous silliness. You can purchase tickets online, and you can check out the rest of their events. Join the Mayborn Museum on August 21st for a powerful conversation with Dr. Stephen Sloan as he shares stories from Tattooed on My Soul, an oral history collection that captures the voice of Texas veterans who served in World War II. This book is drawn from thousands of interviews and features 17 compelling first-hand accounts of courage, sacrifice, and resilience. Dr. Sloan is a phenomenal storyteller, so I would highly suggest this panel and watching his Waco History podcast with Rogue Media Network. I'm Elizabeth Riley with your Act Locally News, and I will see you next time.
And welcome back to the show. One of the stellar premier events in the city of Waco. Its lovely founder
Thank
right here,
you.
Emily Mills.
Yeah.
Of course, originally Jesus Said Love.
That's right. Yeah,
And so Lovely Village is now an outgrowth
that's
of
right.
that. How many years ago?
It'll be 21 years in Easter. We started on Good Friday
remember,
21 years
yeah.
ago doing gift bags to women in strip clubs. And what started as a grassroots ministry has become a full-fledged multi-program, now housing and residential program, which is why we became Lovely Village. We needed a name that, we had Jesus Said Love outreaches, we had Lovely Enterprises, social enterprise, we had the access program, Stop to Me in School. There were so many programs that it all needed one name. And when we were gifted the apartments by Magnolia Foundation, we really said, this is village work. I was talking to another survivor in my office, and I said, what we're building is like a village. And she said, a lovely village. And I was
lovely
like,
village.
that's it.
Thank you,
Here
Jesus.
we are.
Here it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Summer Shine and I got to give her credit because Summer Shine and I were
talk
having.
to her again.
we-
I haven't talked to her in a long
We
time.
dreamed up Lovely Village a long time
Oh,
ago.
that's precious.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Wild Torch has been your
Yeah.
fundraiser
Yes.
for many years.
For
How
many years. This will be our September 4th is our 10th Wild Torch. So, yeah, 10 years into our organization, you know, our board of directors and everything said, you need a gala, you need a gala. And we're like, we just don't know. Like the typical galas we'd been to were just not
I know.
who we were. And
Right.
so authenticity is so important. And of course, Brett and I, you know, we used to sing on worship teams together. So it's like we were old musicians and we always really were drawn to the creative arts and using the arts to tell a bigger story about people and about God and about the work of good in the world. How do you do a gala like that? Like, how do you do a gala that uses the visual and performing arts? And so we just created this kind of experience. We wanted it to
Yeah.
be an experience.
It truly
more
is.
than a fundraiser. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and it's something unique.
Yeah.
Really,
different
too.
every year,
It's
usually.
different, and right on top
It
of
is.
that, different every year. I mean, one that I attended, you had ladies on a couch and they were
Yeah.
talking, and you know, it
Mhm.
was, of course, there was always music involved. But what's
Yeah.
coming up,
Yeah.
September 4th,
Yeah.
is really music centered, huh?
That's right. We are, you know, last year we decided to do this idea called Love Songs for Lovely Village. We said for Wild Torch, it's all about how do we carry this fire for survivors? How do we carry the calling that's inside of us? And what better way than love songs and music?
Mhm.
And so Love Songs for Lovely Village was really about rallying some kind of moonlight singers who you would kind of unsuspecting vocalists around town who might be a teacher by day, but do some karaoke at night. And we said, let's just pull them on the stage, see if they would do it and bring their friends to join in this work. And it's a lot. Like, I mean, you've seen Celebrity Chef, you've of course heard of The Voice as a national program, but Advocacy Center or Family Abuse Center does Dancing Under the Waco Stars, which I think
Oh
you've
yeah,
been a
yeah.
part
I
of.
was the first one.
I mean, it's a brilliant
First one that they did of that. That
It's
was a loads
just
of fun. Yeah.
brilliant. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people who sing that we don't really know
yeah.
still sing and can let it rip. And so we were like, let's get them up on stage and lift a voice for survivors. So that last year was our first time to do it. Corey McIntyre of Milo won.
Did he really?
He won.
Okay.
And he sang a Harry Styles song. It was really great. Waco Cardiology sponsored one of their doctors there who sang. We had, who else did we have? Let's see. We had Dr. Skeen, Waco Cardiology. We had Milo.
So Dr. Skeen is a singer.
He sings. Yes. He played bass for us for years.
Oh, did he really?
And so he sang a Keith Whitley song.
Uh-huh.
Um,
How fun.
it was so much fun. We had such a good time. And so this year we just said, let's cast the net a little further and see if some more people want to do it. So this year we have Stephanie Welch, who is a trafficking survivor and owns the Black Daisy Boutique in China Spring and in Spice. She's on our board of directors, and she is a fiery Latina woman, and she is going to be singing a Selena song, which we're pumped about. We've got Nikki Wilson with Nikki Wilson Fitness. She's a health coach. So she'll be getting up there. Then we have Darius Ewing, who's a city council
That's right.
member.
City council member.
District 4, which Lovely Village is in. And then we've got Carissa Bush, who was an executive admin for years at Baylor, then at Lovely Village. And she's rattling the office walls with some tunes. So it's really
She's
fun.
still deciding what she's going to do. Has she not decided?
No, they've all landed, but we're not
Okay.
giving that away yet.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Well,
but I
that's
can say Stephanie's doing Selena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's gonna be fun.
That's going to be so much fun. Well, Waco Cardiology Group is sponsoring again
sponsoring
this
again,
year, and
yes.
Baylor University.
Baylor will be there.
Yeah.
Nikki Wilson Fitness is sponsoring. 1953 Tequila
Uh-huh.
is sponsoring, which is actually one of my sorority sisters founded from Baylor.
Really?
Yes, and she founded the first female-owned and operated tequila company in
Are
Mexico.
they down in the Austin area where so many tequila
I think
places
well,
are?
they're in Mexico because it's
Oh,
where
they're
it's
in Mexico.
made.
Okay.
But there are 4 female founders, I believe, and Lindsay is one of them. And so they've been on the Today Show. I mean, just incredible. So she'll do a tequila tasting that night for our VIP dinner. And it's always fun just to support other women doing really cool things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Clever Guys Media also.
Yep, they will be there, and they're actually bringing kind of a new element this year because we'll have more screens and film, kind of live streaming, not for others outside, but it'll be live views, so you'll be able to see the singers close up. That's one of the things at the Hippodrome. I really wanted people in the audience to be able to see the faces like you would at a concert.
Right. And it's not a bad venue as
No,
far
it's
as being
great.
close
It's a
enough.
live
It's
venue.
Yeah, it's a really,
Theater.
really good. But that's going to make it even more
It will,
interactive. Yeah?
interactive. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, my
It's
gosh.
going to be great.
Well, you've got a matching grant too thing that you're working
We
on.
do.
Tell me
we
about
are
that.
working on a matching grant. So we had an anonymous donor give us $30,000 and say, match this by August 15th, and I'm in for 30. And if you can match it. And so, so we set out to do it, and we're getting really close. It's
Good.
still open, so we've got another week before we close. I think that's next Thursday. And all of that goes to help fund our program director. So one of the things that the city of Waco invested in was the reconstruction fund. So we got a city grant to redo the apartments that we were given. So that's
huge.
Roof and I mean $600,000
Yeah,
from
wow.
top to bottom. I mean, it's so generous. But what it doesn't cover is case management, wraparound care and support, all of the staff.
Oh yeah, it's more than just a place to live.
It's 100%.
It's, right, support that these ladies
Yes.
need.
And a lot of grants don't love to support staff. But what we always tell people is that you don't have a program without a staff member.
No.
We don't have support groups without people running the support groups. We don't have a Next Steps coaching program without a Next Steps coach.
Sure.
And so really it is essential. Those case managers and residential program directors walk through every step with survivors, really build out what it's going to take for these survivors to thrive once they leave our program.
Well, I know you have seen some amazing success stories.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, I was just talking with several survivors today. One who, she's a single mom. She went through our program and she has started her own business, her own cleaning business. We've been able to help 5 businesses launch, which is really just remarkable to me about survivors who already have some transferable skills in entrepreneurship and sales. And some of them are very motivated to be their own boss and get out there and hustle for good, you know? And we love that. So I was just talking to her today, and her life just looks so different. She came to us from the prison system in Atlanta, Georgia, where she had been trafficked. And a judge there said, you've got to go home, but in order to be a part of this restorative justice program, you've got to get involved in a program when you go back home. And so she's from the Waco area, and her mom actually called us and said, here's the situation. My daughter's a trafficking survivor. Do y'all have any job training or any program that would qualify for her court sentencing? And we said, yeah, we've got a program, like, come on. And so her life just looks remarkable now. She's an incredible mom, a hard worker. So we're just talking to her today and encouraging her and her journey and her love for God, her love for people. It's just remarkable.
Well, this is really everything that Wild Torch is about. And as far as a fundraiser goes, so how can folks get tickets?
Yes. So, okay, surprise, surprise. Next week, we are launching a $50 ticket sale because our VIP tables are sold out. So we
Okay.
have no more dinner tickets available for the full premium experience.
Okay.
But
Wow.
we do have tickets available, which includes light bites, a cash bar, all the show, everything like that. And so next week, we will launch a $50 ticket sale, and we want to fill up the Hippodrome with as many as we can. We can open up the balcony if we sell enough. So let's do
And so
it.
what are those tickets running?
$50.
$50. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can go online.
You can go to
do that?
wildtorch.com.
Okay.
And you can buy a ticket on there and come sing your heart out. You know, this is like the best karaoke night. I don't know anyone who doesn't just feel better after a good concert. And these are going to be some of your favorite songs. I mean, we're spanning really probably from about the 70s to current, we've got a gamut of songs that people are going to love.
Well, and they're going to feel so good with what
I
they're helping
think so.
happen.
How can you
And
not?
yeah, lovely. So what's the timeline? Are you looking at apartments done?
So the apartment construction should be getting started this early fall.
Uh-huh.
We're waiting on some papers to be signed by the powers that be at the city.
Yeah,
Things
understand.
take a little
Yeah,
time.
sometimes.
And so we're waiting on that to drop, and as soon as we do, Luke White Construction will begin the process of renovation. So
Well, it's just great. I mean, over the years, I know you've seen needs, you've seen more things happen, and anything surprised you in this journey you and Brett have been on?
I think I am surprised at. I am continually amazed at, number one, not just the courage of the women that we work with. I am constantly, like, breathtakingly just surprised by women who have experienced some of the most heinous evils on the face of the planet and still have the capacity to not only forgive themselves, which sounds crazy, but we wrestle so much with shame and thinking. So forgiving themselves, but then being able to forgive others.
Huge.
I really, it's not a command that like you can place on a survivor, but it is an invitation. And so I'm surprised by that. I'm always surprised by that. And they teach me about forgiveness a lot. And then the second thing I'm surprised at is our Waco community.
Yeah.
I am constantly like, this is such an incredible place to collaborate, and people are up for ideas and new ways of thinking to at the support. I'm always like, do people still care about what we're doing? And it's like 100%. We're with you. We care. Keep it up. We'll be there. And that's just wind in the sails for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Wild Torch, this is going to be September 4th, one night.
One night only.
Local voices, songs that move the soul
That's
is what I
right.
read about that.
That's
And so,
right.
Emily Mills, you move my soul. I just think you're awesome, and I'm
you
so
too,
happy
Ann.
to get to visit with you anytime, but especially to talk about Wild Torch.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Viewers, I want you guys to like chip in here because I think I remember Ann has a really incredible voice. And I'm
Well.
pretty sure I've seen you not only on worship teams, but on Waco Civic Theater stages. And you need to jump up there.
Yeah. Oh, well. We'll
You
see.
need to be one of those voices in the future because Love Songs for Lovely Village is not going away.
Oh, no.
It-
This just sounds wonderful.
It
Great.
is so fun. And let me just shout out to the band. I'm calling them, what am I calling the band? The Brett and Emily and the Flames or something. I don't know. But the band that we're backed by, I mean,
Oh, that's great. A lot
they're
of
Dove
musicians.
Award
That's
winners.
good. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
They're incredible. Our drummer, BWAC, he goes by BWAC, Jeremy Bush, who's with Sidekick Creative Agency, but he's our drummer, played for David Crowder Band. Jack
Yeah.
Parker played for David Crowder Band. Brandon Roses is bass player for Sleeper Star
yeah.
now at Harris
I
Creek.
know Brandon, yeah.
Aaron Konzelman, of
Oh,
course,
yeah, of course,
and
Aaron.
Amanda Konzelman, the Union Revival.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are just A caliber musicians. So our singers are backed by pros, and I love it. It's
Going to
so
be a
much fun.
tremendous night.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
All right. Thank you again,
Can't wait.
Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You stay with us. There's more of the show ahead.
Hey Waco, we're live in the Wacoan office and it's time for Waco Weekend with Debbie
and Jenna. We're back bringing you the very best of everything happening in Waco this weekend.
and it's back to school time, but don't worry, Waco Summer Vibes is still happening. Make sure and use our hashtag Waco Summer Vibes to be entered to win our epic Labor Day staycation. That's including drinks from Maria Mezcallerita, a concert at the backyard, and 2 amazing overnight stays right here in downtown Waco. Make sure and tag your pictures on our Waco Summer bucket list using hashtag Waco Summer Vibes to get entered to win.
Then this weekend you can go over to the Waco Civic Theater to check out some shows. Friday through Sunday, they will be presenting Backwards Broadway, a dazzling display of ginger bending, show tune belting. And if you're looking for something a little more wild, head on over to the Cameron Park Zoo for Iguana Day. There's going to be so much fun, a little wild. There'll be so much things to do, and you get to see some iguanas. You can't go wrong. Exactly. Also on Saturday, East Side Market is turning 6. Join the celebration from 5 to 9 for local vendors, live art, DJs, food trucks, and of course cold drinks from Barterwell. This event is free, open to the public, and family friendly. Yes, of course. And then on Sunday, head on over to your backyard for the Helping Band's Flood Relief Concert. You can find out more on the Grapple by checking out our article. This event will start at the backyard at 2 p.m. and currently has no end time. It will be an amazing event to celebrate community, music, and all the funds go back for a great cause. Definitely something you don't want to miss out on. Don't forget, you can always visit the Grapple at Wacoan.com for more guides, features, and our weekly Waco Weekend wrap-up every Wednesday. Enjoy your #Waco Weekend.
Thanks for being with us. Join me on Monday when Jennifer Snyder of Neat as a Pin gives us her insights on how to get organized now the fall school semester is getting underway. Have a great weekend.